Rita, I'm so excited that you decided to spend a little time with me today, and I just want to thank you so much for giving me your time. And I want to introduce you, Rita Rivera Fox, to everyone here who's watching. And for those of you that don't know Rita, I'd like you actually to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, wow.
Who are you?
My.
Who are you?
Isn't that always the most daunting question? Who are you?
What are you doing?
Well, I'm still discovering who I am. As far as I can tell, of these many decades on the planet, it's a work in progress, the discovering of who I am. But because I'm really fascinated by that journey of discovering who I am, I assist and journey along with others who have the same desire to know who they are beyond perhaps a personality, beyond perhaps their roles, beyond what they might think they are. I think we all get an inkling at some point in our life that there's something bigger stirring inside, happening around us. Maybe we hear the inspiration of a call to do something or to create something or to express something. And in order to do that, we have to take the journey inside to find out who we really are. So in business terms or in regular everyday terms, I'm a transformational coach, spiritual mentor, and I do energy healing. And all of these serve really to create an invitation to wake up to who we are.
I like that you call it waking up, and I like that there are different facets to what you're doing. You said energy work and mentoring and transformational coaching, I think you called it. I'm not, I'm a little bit in my body, kind of out of my body, so bear with me.
It's the effect you have on me. It's the effect we have on each other.
Yeah. Yes, the vibration is definitely rising as we speak. I love it, and I find that fascinating. And what I'd like to know is what brought you into this world? What was it that hooked your attention into diving into understanding who you are and why you're here and all of that energy, and then transform that into teaching? What were the steps that happened along the way, and what sparked your interest initially? Was it an event that happened, or was... Sorry.
I think I discovered that I was a rebel.
Ah.
Somewhere along the way, it occurred to me that I wasn't as willing as perhaps some other people that I knew to accept things on the terms that they were given to me. I didn't identify myself as a rebel, but I kept looking beyond what was there. I kept questioning, challenging, and at the same time, I was really interested in a certain quality of experience. And of course, when you're a teenager and when you're young, those two combinations can be, they can be volatile. And yet, it seems from the very beginning I had a deep desire for a spiritual experience. I didn't call it that, of course, but I went to college as a religious studies major. I signed up for all the courses in Hindu mythology. I spent 3.5 weeks with a Trappist monk in the mountains of Wyoming, meditating at 5 o'clock in the morning. Skied crazy mountains, did crazy things, rode horses, and always searching for this kind of ultimate experience. And I was always searching for it outside of myself. And then at some point, I think when when our pain reaches, our pain and confusion reach a certain level, and yet we have this really deep desire for an experience that we haven't had yet. The combination of those two, pain and this desire for something more, start to open the door. And it was then that I found, first of all, a Hindu spiritual teacher. My second spiritual teacher was a medicine man. I was many years a part of the Native American spiritual circle. And I worked with a healer, medicine man, did ceremony myself, really immersed myself in shamanism and shamanistic studies and shamanistic energy. And I was just hungry for all of these experiences. And it seems now that I look back at this wizened old age, I see, that I really just took from each offering a piece here, a piece there. From the Hindus, this. From the Native Americans, this piece seemed to work really well for me. I studied art therapy, so I took that piece in. I studied hypnotherapy. I took that piece in. Counseling, that piece in. And then finally I met Don Miguel Ruiz, and the container that he offered me allowed all of it to blend. And what emerged was kind of a more authentic composite of me and my search.
Interesting. I love that. I love that you actually were still looking outside yourself to be fulfilled on a certain level, like you knew that there was something else, but you were reaching outside yourself. I really relate to that with my own life story, in that I felt uncomfortable in my own skin and sought outside myself to feel better about myself instead of going inward and finding that it's all within me. I had no idea. Why would I go in there? It doesn't feel very good. So I'm going to go drink and do drugs and hang out with guys and spend a lot of money and whatever else I could do to not be with myself. And I also find that even seeking religious understanding could also be another way of seeking outside myself. But it's really about pulling it all in and finding what is true to me. Not so much understanding a dogma or believing with all my beliefs that Miguel's way or the Hindu way or the Native American way is me, but really incorporating it in my own being and knowing that that is really who I am. I find that really interesting that you two found that, that bottom in a way. You talk about having sort of a emotional bottom or a pain. The pain was so deep that that's when you saw it another way. And I appreciate that, the way that you speak about it, because I as a recovering person from doing those things, I'd say, and finding a place of feeling extreme despair, like didn't want to be here anymore, and then had a voice in my head that said, "You're here for a reason.
No.
You really want your life to be like this?"
No.
And I thought, no. And that was, when I started to seek too.
You see, the difference is when I heard it, as you described it, is if we become aware that what we're looking for outside of ourselves is a mirror. We're looking for something in which we can actually see ourselves with our flaws, with our limitations, with our delusions. To me, that's a really, really powerful spiritual teacher, is someone who will create that space for you that you can start to turn within. The only way, from my point of view, that we can begin to make that shift from seeking outer, to turning it to looking within, is the mirror, is having that person, that experience that provides that turning point for us, that, aha, it is safe for me to start to go in here and begin to do what all the spiritual teachings, all the spiritual masters say. And that is, it is within you. And it is. It's just amazing what's there. The other aspect, the other point I'd like to make about the search outward, where we find ourselves looking for inspiration, looking for guidance, looking for wisdom outside of ourselves, that's beneficial when we know how to integrate it. The integration of spiritual teachings, the integration of spiritual practices, the integration of spiritual wisdom is really, it's so important that we know how to integrate and what that really means.
Yeah, you know what? That brings up a important thing in my life right now, because I have studied with several different teachers, and I do know a lot of things, and knowing them in my mind is totally different than saying, in every moment when my husband says something, I have a knee-jerk reaction, and I say the thing that I know is mean, and 10 minutes later, I have the awareness of, oh, he's just being himself. He's perfect in this moment. I am judging him because I have expectations of him, and I need to accept him as being perfect, and I need to accept myself as being perfect, and not judge.
Congratulations, you have the awareness.
Yes,
yes. I know all you're saying is now that your desire is to have the awareness in the moment.
Yes, I would like to integrate it, like you said, actually in present time instead of, hindsight is 2020.
Oh, good. As long as you have that desire, as long as you have that intention, you will get there.
And sometimes I don't have that desire because I think I'm right. So, truth be told, if he would just change. And
I do love that about you, Catherine. You do be telling the truth.
I do. But I really appreciate also the whole idea and concept of being a rebel, and that's not a bad thing, to question things that come to you as being the truth, and just giving yourself permission to taking a look at if that works for you, and if it doesn't. Even as spiritual teaching, you have a whole society or group of people believing it, and it takes a lot of will, I would say, to say, wait a minute, hold that. I need to find if that's true for me. I'll get right back to you instead of just going with the flow, because that feels scary, really, to go against it and to say no, or to say I'm not sure. I think that's powerful and empowering. I'm so glad you brought that up too. And I do have another question for you, and it's along the same lines of, what do you think it is that holds people back from fulfilling their fullest potential, or transcending what their mind is telling them, or just taking a step forward into their power? What do you think it is that's holding people back?
That's really simple.
What?
Fear.
That.
that.
Fear. Fear is the big one.
Well, yes, and yes. I mean, fear is purposeful. Fear is very purposeful. It's really to me a strong topic at this particular time. It seems that with all of the changes and the transformation and the acceleration of whatever process the evolution of humanity is in right now, the result seems to be a preponderance of fear. People are losing things. Their stability is falling away, and uncertainty seems to be on the rise. So, what I noticed is that fear is on the rise. But when you look at the relationship between fear and what it's really serving, to me, fear really serves the deeper expression that we call love. We can't know love, we can't make really conscious choices unless the element of fear is present. In Toltec mythology, we call fear the ally. So, to me, it just asks us to become more responsible. When fear is present, we have the opportunity to create a new response. Responsibility, to me, really indicates that we have an ability to respond. So, when fear is present or a challenge is present, all it's really doing is asking us to respond from perhaps from a different point of view, or respond differently, or respond with a little more awareness, respond with more consciousness. And to me, that's the whole theme right now of what you're promoting in your programs, what I'm offering myself in service to, is this idea that we can continue to raise our level of responsibility, and fear is going to play a part in that. When we're stable and nothing is changing, fear is less present. But when there's less coherence, when things start to really shift, there's actually a bigger potential for sustained change. When things are uncertain and unbalanced, when there is no equilibrium. And fear is always a factor in chaos. Fear is always a factor in creativity. You know that as an artist. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things I really help people with the most is how to reinterpret the presence of a fearful message or a fearful thought, fearful belief in our life, because very often that can be the beginning of challenging our normal beliefs, challenging what we've interpreted as our limits. And so fear's in the mix.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I was thinking while you were speaking about fear and how it manifests right now for me. And I am pushing through, I don't even know if I'd call it pushing, but I am challenging my old way of being with my business and attempting to do things that I would have never done just because somebody told me. Decide. Decide that you already are there, number one. Decide that it's easy. That was the other one. That was big. Just decide that it's easy and decide that you are just like everyone else.
Right.
And those are the three fears that come up for me, is that I'm small, I don't know enough, those people are over there and up here, and they would never want to have anything to do with me. I mean, the chatter could go on endlessly.
But you see, that chatter is what you and I share.
Sure.
And everybody who's listening to this our conversation today, we all share the same chatter.
Right, right.
We all share the same self-doubt because we all have the same internal mental programming. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of what you're inviting people to do, as you said, to tell their story, to share what it is here in this forum, that what I do is ask people to express what their heart's desire is. You know, what is your heart's desire? What do you want to experience more than anything? What is it that makes your heart sing and yet maybe hasn't come into expression yet? Mm-hmm. And all of that is going to bring up the self-doubt. As soon as you say, oh, I want to be, I want to write, I want to finish my book, I want to be an author, I want to be an expert in my field and help people with what I know. Well, and you know, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, you have this lively community, and each time we ask for what we desire, we have the opportunity to break out of the self-doubt.
Yeah, I think for me, what I've noticed is that when I take action, regardless of what my mind is telling me, it's completely different. The fog is lifted. There's no separation between me and the person I was afraid of. They're just like me. We're just having a conversation. Whatever it is that I have put as they're different, or I'm smaller, or
whatever your little story is,
it's not true. And
it's not true, and it's like a paper dragon. It just
it's just gone.
It completely disappears, and then you're just living your life.
And I have to bring it back to that point where you talked about being a rebel, because I feel like in those moments I'm rebelling against what I think is true, and my mind is convinced that it's true. I'm saying, well, I don't think so. I'm going to hold that thought and I'm going to do the opposite and see what happens. It's the same. It's the same. You know, I might still have the thought as I'm walking towards that person, but I don't care. I'm going to rebel against my own mind and see what happens. And what I've noticed is happening is that I get closer to my deepest desires when I'm willing to say, you know, and rebel against those fears,
Exactly. That particular aspect of my personality or aspect of who I am serves me really well, even at this age.
Mm-hmm.
And you stated it perfectly. To rebel against what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. To rebel against what I think when it creates a fearful emotion.
Sure. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
I know, because part of big piece of my work is to help people get in touch with what they're feeling. Help people really get tuned into the sensations in the body and understand how valuable emotion really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because every thought that we have, every belief that we have, has a corresponding emotional response in the body. So immediately I know when my mind is giving me a limiting false belief or story, I feel constriction in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I feel anxious. I feel restless. So this happens to everyone. Whenever your mind speaks a false belief or an outdated belief, or what you just said, I'm too small, I can't, I don't know how to do this thing. Anytime we start to do the self-doubt litany,
mm-hmm.
immediately, if we were to notice how it's making us feel, we can shift it almost faster. What I've really observed with my students and the people I work with is that we can actually shift those limiting beliefs faster by moving in quickly to dissolve the emotional energy that we're feeling.
Interesting.
To first acknowledge it. Oh, wow, look how that thought makes me feel. Just that simple. Look how that thought makes me feel. Wow. And then I have a process for how to quickly move the energy so that the thought isn't supported anymore. That our thoughts are supported by our emotions.
Right.
And if we can clear the energy, which is all that emotion is energy. If we can clear the energy, quickly and directly, the thought disappears too, and we're free to move into action.